We'll get started in a few minutes. I see someone has joined via the phone. Phone number ending 5603. Could you please?
Away. This is Florence, and my ending phone number is 5603.
All right, excellent. I am gonna rename you in the system, Florence, so we know who it is.
Okay, yeah, I somehow I lost connection on my computer, so I grabbed my phone.
Oh, no worries. All right, so here's the lineup for tonight. I open with welcoming remarks. I'm talking about parking and the new digital signs, municipal income tax, the new voting guidelines, and then it's Laura Curlis, Colin Altman, Chief Brian Carlson, Kristen Bean, Greene County Public Health, Terry Holden, and Mayor Pam. And I see all those folks are on. Good. Brian Hausch. I'm summarizing the legislation that was passed by the Ohio General Assembly and signed by Governor DeWine, and there are 6 things. The state's waive testing requirements for the school children this year, extends professional licensing, allows local governments to hold public meetings remotely and with transparency. And this one, I don't know if you or Laura want to touch base. If it needs to, you discussed it at the last town hall that you participated on. And I'm closing out with the extending the tax deadline, the absentee voting, and provides funding for small businesses.
So you meant specifically about the virtual town hall or the virtual council meeting. I think we can talk about that on Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Unless there are any questions, but if we do have any questions, I'll be here to answer.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Philip, do you have the document up for questions? I have a question. Do you have the Good evening, neighbors and residents. Thank you for joining us for another virtual town hall. We have a great lineup of speakers tonight on some very important information. I want to start off today as to highlight the number of cases that we're looking at in Ohio and how many in the county. And we have Christine Beam from the Greene County Public Health joining us tonight, and she can elaborate more on those points. But I'll inform you that the numbers are continuing to increase as projected. As of today, we are at 1,933 cases, with 4 confirmed cases in Greene County and our first death. Our prayers and thoughts go out to the family in Cedarville on this case. Those numbers will continue to increase from here, particularly because testing is lagging by 5 or 6 days before people who are shedding the virus and infecting others, as much as 10 days prior to are seeking testing. So be mindful of that. Please do all you can to protect yourselves and others around you. Many residents have reached out to me and Police Chief Carlson regarding the large crowds engaging in recreational, non-essential activities in town. I understand your concerns, as we too share them. While we encourage our residents to walk, bike, and do what they must within the guidelines of physical distancing and the stay-home order to maintain a healthy mind and body, we ask that if you're going to participate in recreational activities, that you do so responsibly. Please enjoy the outdoors locally and around your neighborhoods. Our officers have engaged individuals partaking in many recreational activities in and around the village and encourage them to practice physical distancing and other basic measures. But the same sense of urgency and importance of what must be done to flatten the curve and, more importantly, to protect each other is not being shared by everyone. Piling into a car and driving somewhere to engage in non-essential activities is not helping us contain the spreading of this pandemic, nor is it in the spirit of the stay-home order. We cannot police everyone, but what we can do is limit access. Last week, in the interest of public safety, we closed portions of the parking lots on Corey Street, Railroad Street, and John Bryan Center to limit the density of cars and the recreational use of the parking lots. The parks continue to be open. We've also placed digital signs on the outskirts of town to inform the public of the stay-home order, limit travel, and inform the public of the closure of Glen Helen Park. This may seem controversial for the village, as we pride ourselves as being a welcoming community, but we find it necessary and prudent to take these actions in the interest of public safety. I want to share a couple other announcements from the state. You may have heard that the Ohio General Assembly has passed legislation and Governor DeWine signed into law. These provisions allow for the following. It waives testing requirements for school children this year. It extends professional licenses for those who cannot get them renewed. Also allows for local government to hold public meetings remotely and with transparency. It extends the income tax deadline to July 15. This also extends your tax payments to municipal tax filings. It also extends absentee voting by mail until April 28th. So please, I encourage you to visit the voteohio.gov for more information and to request your mail-in ballot. The legislation also provides funding for small businesses, such as daycares and services for the disabled. And finally, I want to close out before we start our speakers that we're monitoring closely the unfolding of this legislation and other legislation at the federal level to ensure that the Yellow Springs is well positioned to receive whatever funding may become available from the state and federal level. And now I'll open the floor for Laura Curlis, our at-large council member, who's joining us tonight.
Thank you, Josue. Yesterday, the president announced that the federal guidelines for physical distancing are extended to April the 30th. The president said that we must avoid non-essential travel or gathering in groups of more than 10 for at least another month, and perhaps until June. What is essential or non-essential can be partly answered by going to coronavirus.ohio.gov and reading the governor's order. At times of emergencies, it's more important than ever, however, that we exercise our basic democratic rights. So please don't forget to fill out the census, and certainly don't forget to vote. This year, it's worth saying every meeting, by absentee only. You cannot show up at a poll and vote on the new deadline, April 28th, and your absentee ballot has to be in by April 27th. Now that the sprint has become a middle distance race, it is more important than ever to support each other and be aware of those who are not dealing so well with this emergency. And I'm certainly seeing people for whom that is true. Ways that are frequently recommended to relieve stress are getting outside, physical exercise, access to nature and the out of doors. And I know the village is working on this, and I believe Greene County Health District will have some signage. Signage helps, like it always helps to show how you physically distance even when you're out of doors. Thank you to everyone who is working so hard to get us through this crisis. Thank you to everyone who's checking in on your neighbors and making sure that people have what they need at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. And now we will go to Fire Chief Colin Altman. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you very much, Josue. Miami Township Fire Chief Colin Altman coming to you live this evening with the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge with some important messages about dealing with the COVID-19 outbreak. As Josue said, and you're going to hear a lot, the numbers are increasing. We're up to 1,933. I believe it's 39 statewide deaths and 1 here in Greene County. This is not good, but it is entirely, unfortunately, in line with the expectations that Dr. Acton and the health department have put out. So it's important not to panic. Continue doing what we've been doing. It's heartening to go out in Yellow Springs. It's unusual, but it's heartening to see people not on the streets, to see downtown almost empty. This is what we need to keep doing. Social distancing, staying home, keeping ourselves entertained as best we can. Nobody wants to stay home all the time. If you do go outside, be smart about it. Keep social distancing, and make sure that you're being safe. You can learn a language while you're home. You can read a book. I recommend Michael Hayden's The Assault on Intelligence, American National Security in the Age of Lies. Great book, good read, give it a whirl. Fire department recommends. They say it takes a village, and it takes a village in a township to help the fire department. So we're in need of some things. So if you are a villager or a township resident who has or works in a place that has and can donate, we do need N95 masks. So if you've got them, some people have brought some into us already, and this is fantastic. We really do appreciate it. But if you have N95 masks or disposable surgical isolation type gowns, we need those as well. You've heard this all over. The governor's talked about it. It's been on the news, and it affects us as well. So if you've got stuff or access to stuff and are willing to donate, we'd love to have it. Or you can just give us a call and ask about it. We'll help you through it. I also just want to address really quickly the difference, what we're in right now. We are under a stay-at-home order. And again, it's an order. It's not a stay-at-home suggestion. People who are non-essential need to stay at home. We are not under a quarantine order. That's a whole different ballgame. If you've looked at some of the video and news footage from Europe, those are quarantines. So we may get there, but right now we're stay at home. So it is important that everyone follows that. particularly if you are over 60 or 70 years old or a compromised immune system, please stay at home and use some of these amazing services that the village and our nonprofit partners have put together to help get food out to people and other services. It is critical that at this point we really buckle down and start to flatten this curve as soon as we can. Remember also, the village has taken amazing and wonderful and I think appropriate steps to discourage people from coming into town. They're still going to come. They may park on your street. If they walk on the bike trail, let them walk on the bike trail. You know, the chances of them running into your yard and coughing on you are very slim. So let's remember the kind of town we are. We're open, we're accepting, we're wonderful. We'll get through this all together because we're all in it together. We ask that you be safe, that you be kind, and that you be hopeful. And as always, the fire department's here. If you need us, give us a call. If it's an emergency, 911. If it's not, you can call us on our non-emergency number, 767-7842. If you want to donate, if you want to talk, if you want to bring us cookies, whatever you got to do, we're there for you. Thank you, and back to you, Josue.
Colin, thank you so much. And now we will transition to our police chief, Brian Carlson. Welcome, Brian.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Josue. Thanks, Chief Altman. Not much update from our end. We've been a little busier today. I do want to emphasize to my fellow citizens, please remember to lock your vehicle doors when your car is parked. And just a couple of tips. I wouldn't leave your wallet or purse on the passenger seat in an unlocked car. I would put that in the trunk and make sure and lock your doors. Please keep your porch lights on. Keep an eye out for your neighbors. I'm so proud to be part of the community and watching how everyone's helping one another. I do want to give a couple special shout outs right now to Tom from Tom's Market and all the employees there that are working around the clock to keep the village stocked. Also Don at Dollar General, the manager there, who's working with his dedicated crew to keep the village stocked. And to Brian, the owner of Sunrise, who is continually providing carryout for residents. We really appreciate all that you all do. That's it from us, Josue. I appreciate everyone. If you have any friends or loved ones that you would like us to look in on, please don't hesitate to call. It's slowed down a little bit, but we've been getting on average maybe 1 to 2 contacts a day, and we're staying in continual contact with those folks. Thanks, everyone. Be safe out there.
Thank you so much, Chief. And now we will hear from Kirsten Beam from Greene County Public Health.
Hello, everyone. This update is from Greene County Public Health. As Josue mentioned earlier on the call, we have 1,933 confirmed cases in Ohio. It's really important to remember that due to the very limited testing that was available, many people who fell sick and were symptomatic were not eligible for a test. In Ohio, we were prioritizing people who are hospitalized, testing those people first for infection control measures. People that were over 70 or in the healthcare field were also eligible for tests under the algorithm that we were using across the state. So we have 4 confirmed cases in Greene County. Our condolences go out to the Cedarville family of an 87-year-old female who passed away on the 26th of this month. She fell ill on the 21st. This case was not associated with an assisted living facility or a nursing home facility, and she had no history of travel exposure or exposure to a confirmed positive case. So I think it's important for people to remember that this is another case of community spread. While we only have 4 confirmed positive cases, we know that at this point we can assume that COVID is present in every jurisdiction in Greene County, and we would ask that people act accordingly by following the stay-at-home orders that have been issued by the governor. I don't have any other updates at this time.
Thank you, Kirsten. And now we will listen from Chris Hall from Home Inc. on financial coaching.
Hi, I'm the program manager, Yellow Springs Home Inc. I'm the primary contact for our homeowners and prospective homeowners. I just wanted to let everybody know, I know a lot of people are experiencing a loss of income or are concerned about experiencing a loss of income. You can visit our website, yshome.org, for some financial planning packets. There's also an opportunity to sign up for confidential one-on-one calls with myself to help game plan a path to make a bridge as we work to navigate this new reality. The other thing, just while I have everybody on the phone here, is I know that there's a lot going on about benefits that may be coming and that were, or bills that may be delayed. So I would say to visit the YS News' website and the state's website for the most up-to-date information. But also, just because you hear something on the news, don't take it for granted that that's just going to be done on its own. If it's anything with mortgages, student loans, or any other kind of bills, I encourage you to reach directly out to your creditor to handle that, and to not just listen to what you hear on the news and think that that is just going to be handled for you. So once again, you can visit us at yshome.org to get a little bit more information and tools to help you through this. And I'm certainly available for one-on-one calls for anyone who would find that beneficial. Thank you.
Chris, thank you so much. And to our residents, you're not alone in this. Please reach out and reach out early. There are resources that are being made available to you by all these wonderful organizations. Okay, and now we will give the floor to Terry Holden, our Yellow Springs School Superintendent. Terry.
Thank you, Josue. Good evening, everyone. Before I talk a little bit about the governor's order today, I just want to reiterate the comments of Chief Carlson and Chief Altman about staying at home. Even though schools are considered essential businesses, I have directed my staff to work remotely as much as possible, and that in fact applies to me. And any meeting I can take virtually, I am taking virtually, because we all need to do our part to really shorten this this time period that we're out. Today, Governor DeWine indicated that Dr. Amy Acton, Director of the Ohio Department of Health, will be issuing an order extending the closure of all K-12 school buildings through Friday, May 1st. Initially, it was through Friday, April 3rd, but that has been extended for several more weeks. The governor did indicate that this would be reassessed closer to the May 1st deadline to see if that needed to be extended again. I think we're all gearing up to a pretty heavy time in terms of the impact, the health impact of COVID-19, and this is in preparation for that. I want parents and families to know to expect a letter from me somewhere near the end of the week detailing what our plan will be, what our academic plan will be for the next month, basically through May 1st. But we will continue remote learning because we are committed to that, and we will continue our food delivery as well. Thank you, Josue.
Thank you, Terry. And we will now listen from our Mayor, Pam. Mayor?
"2020 is a year ending in a 0, and therefore it's a census year. Frankly, some of us in the village government don't think we can remind you enough that you'll have several opportunities in which to respond to your census. Your first opportunity to complete your census online for the first time ends Wednesday, April 1st. That's about 56 hours from now. So get it done if you want to get it done online. It's about a 10-minute process. They literally ask you 5 or 6 questions, mostly involving who lives in your household and your address and so forth, and that's all. There is no citizenship question on the 2020 census, despite what we were threatened with earlier in the year. The census count, I want to remind you, is extremely important for Yellow Springs. Funding filters down to the local communities to provide funding for 132 federal programs. And you may say, gee, what are some of those? So at random, I just pulled 8 or 9 of those programs to share with you because each one of these affects us here in Yellow Springs. Highway planning and construction, school lunch programs, Dr. Holden, Section 8, housing vouchers, special education, state grants, Head Start, medical assistance programs, foster care funding, unemployment insurance, wildlife restoration for beavers, promotion of the arts, grants, state energy programs, plus 120 other categories. So it's extremely important that you go online and fill this out. But if you don't respond by the first for whatever reason, you will have another opportunity to participate. You'll receive a paper questionnaire in April. And if you don't respond to that, a census worker will come to your house between May 7th and August 14th. They've extended the dates for that in-person follow-up interview because of the crisis we're in now. But come they will. For as they told us on the front of the envelope we got, it is filling out the census and doing the census is required by law. Therefore, I recommend for more information, they've got great, very easily accessible websites, the Census Department of ours. Here it is. It is basically 2020census.gov, 2020census.gov. One more time, 2020census.gov. That is the site where you can actually take the survey. If you lost your prior sheet that gave you your individual number, no worries. You can take it live on there. They will walk you through the process anyway. That's my analysis on census, but I do have a second announcement tonight. And that is a reminder about our 6 o'clock Yellow Springs wave and shout out. You walk outside your house. I have my noisemakers at the ready. I've been going up and down the street a little bit, waving at cars if no neighbors are out. Sometimes neighbors are out. So please take advantage of this. It's a great opportunity to get your kids outside, let them whoop it up for a while. So 6 o'clock every evening, let's greet our neighbors and chat over the fence line in a safe way and take care of each other. Thank you. Back to you, Josue.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pam. And we have some breaking news. You heard me speak earlier about the mail-in ballot required for voting that has been extended to April 28th. Brian House just passed some information to me. Brian, do you want to jump in or do you want me to cover that? All right, so the breaking news is that there will be an insert or a cutout in the Yellow Springs newspaper in this next distribution that will allow residents to complete that mail-in form, mail it in, and that is the mail-in ballot request form. So be on the lookout for your next version of the Yellow Springs newspaper for that mail-in request form. Thank you. And we will now open the floor to questions. I see that my colleagues have gathered some questions, so we'll read those. And I'll point to, if it's a question for one of our participants, I'll direct the question to that participant. The first question, do we have any time frame or frames for an end to this? That's a difficult answer to that. It's complicated, as we've seen from the models, and I've been paying close attention to Dr. Acton's models during her 2 p.m. briefings with Governor DeWine. The model is changing a bit. We start off with a peak day of May 1st, and that's at the height of the number of cases. And Kirsten's online, and she may be able to give us some more insights on the model. But we had this May 1 peak date that they were projecting. The peak date has been adjusted to take place between April 15 and April 19th. And that's at the peak of the cases, which could be anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000 cases per day. And the model is changing with as the health authorities are collecting information and putting that information into the model. So that's a peak date. That is no end date. It could be several weeks beyond that. So we don't know. We're using scientifically based information and modeling to make decisions, and we're working through it, and we're working through this together. Kirsten, is there anything you would like to add to that?
I would agree with what you said, Josue. The peak dates can be seen at the Ohio Department of Health coronavirus website. Do people have that available? It's coronavirus.ohio.gov. And there you can see the curves that Jose is referring to, and also the daily case counts for Greene County and for the entire state of Ohio. Yeah, we are looking for when this peaks, and I think restrictions will slowly be lifted, not immediately after the peak, but probably several weeks following the peak, because what we don't want to see is a recurrence in transmission after we reach that peak. We're very closely monitoring levels of PPE at area hospitals and capacity in area hospitals. So those are things that we're always mindful of. And I know the governor is mindful of it in considering these restrictions and when they might be relaxed. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Kirsten. And I just want to remind our residents that we have to be prepared for the long haul. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So we end this for the long haul. Okay, we have a second question that has come in. Can you remind us again how to volunteer or time or resources if necessary? Yes, thank you for asking that question. There are several ways you can get involved. And we ask you to reach out the Yellow Springs Community Foundation, let them know what you're able to do and how you can get involved. You can visit their website, www.yscf.org, or you may email them at yscf@yscf.org, or call at 937-767-2655. And there are several ways we can use all your skills as we prepared and execute initiatives to make sure that all of our residents have access to food, shelter, and a safety net. Okay, Philip, any additional questions? Okay, we have a question for Kirsten. This is from our YouTube viewers. How come we learned so late about the COVID death in the area?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now, testing at the across the state is running on about a 4 to 5 day lag period. So the sample from this woman was taken on the 25th of March. So it's not surprising, given that there is about a 5-day lag in reporting of test results, that we were getting the test result 5 days later.
Thank you, Kirsten. And just to summarize there, the test came in after the death, correct?
Yes, that's correct. The test results came back after the woman had already passed away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we don't see any additional questions have come through. Oh, you have one more question, okay. So, but that question came through. Kirsten, this may be for you as well. Should those who are asymptomatic get tested? If so, how do we know?
Yeah, right now, if your testing is not available to people that are asymptomatic, there's testing is usually only available to people, again, in those high risk categories that are symptomatic, have a negative influenza A, and have a doctor's order for testing. So if you're asymptomatic, really testing isn't available. And we can also expect that as this continues, if somebody comes down with flu-like symptoms, it's likely that they will not be tested unless they are in one of those high risk categories. So somebody like myself, middle-aged, otherwise healthy, if I come down with classic COVID-19 symptoms and call my doctor to report that, I will be told to stay at home. Testing is not expected to become widely available.
And Kirsten, on this influenza A negative, that means you've been tested and you did not test positive for influenza A, and so then you would.
We like to rule out an influenza A infection before using a COVID-19 test or testing for coronavirus. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Okay, we have another question. What steps are being taken to advertise that the Glen is closed and that our community is observing stay-home orders? Press releases, WYSO advertising, local area newspaper, or TV stations? Excellent question. What we've done, we've put 3 digital signs on the outskirts of town, advertising to the public that the Glen Helen is closed and the stay-home order is in effect, and we're encouraging the limitation of travel. Those are things we've done. Now we are speaking with our community partners and others on what other activities to do around messaging. So we're looking to expand on those activities to ensure that the public takes our current pandemic seriously, and they're doing everything that they can to protect themselves and those around them. And so we'll be doing more to get the word out and find the right balance of messaging. Any additional questions? Okay. Well, if there are no additional questions, or if you think of any questions later, you can always email us. You can email info@yso.com. You can email those questions to Philip, which is p.o'rourke@yso.com. And you can always join us at the next virtual town hall and submit your questions. So with that, in closing, I want to thank all of our speakers tonight. They're doing wonderful work to ensure that our residents have the services that they need. And in closing, I want to say that, again, this pandemic is testing us all. It will test us if it hasn't already tested you. But we're certain that as a community practicing shared leadership and collaboration, we will get through this, and we'll do so together. So we look forward to partnering with you and all the organizations to ensure that all of our residents have access to essential services, food, shelter, and a safety net. And this will require the participation of our entire community, the entire village and the township. So we encourage you to stay connected with us through the various platforms that we made available. Until next time, have a good night. Be safe.